Paris. I can't look at stuff like this. This makes me sad. Too sad. Everything makes me sad. My friend's success stifles what little spirit I have left. I have a few fights left in me. Not many. Only the kind windmills were made for. Yet I move on. Don Quixote on his horse. Again. I wish I could turn down gigs. Wish I had a wife. I wish a lot of things. But the truth is, we're stuck in this nightmare. A twisting, turning bundle of light. Nerves, sinews, sweat, tension, release. Get me another bottle. Forget about the brown paper bag. No one cares in the alley what the brand is. Just pass it over here. End up on her doorstep at 4 a.m. She's not home. Or fucking somebody else. Slow train home. Click, clack. Click, clack. Click, clack. Howard Street. End of the line. Somehow, somewhere, life just got off course. Last time I looked, I was tending bar at a swanky bar downtown. Now I'm panhandling for change outside the subway. It's okay. I'll have enough for a bottle soon, and it'll go down nice and warm, and the pain will go away. Bring on the fog. Bring on the lights, the action. I might even make enough to go into a club. Wouldn't that be swell? I'd sit and watch the dancing girls, buy one drink, and fill it up in the bathroom with bourbon from my pint of old granddad, and nobody the wiser. Good thing I still own a few nice suits. Who would suspect a fella in a Botany 500 suit with slick back hair with Vitalis wouldn't really be stranded and lost his wallet? I might even make enough to hit Ronnie's Steakhouse for a grizzly steak and a big piece of garlic bread sopping in butter before I once again descend into the dusty depths of the Chicago Transit Authority underground and stumble home to sleep it off. There are some nights I spend the whole night in a club, and the only time anybody talks to me is to ask me for my ID or if I want another drink. And that's just fine with me, brother. Everyone's a stranger. Everyone but the bartender. You gotta make sure that bartender is your friend, cause he or she is your only lifeline to a good high. Let me tell you, Charlie, even if you only have $10 in your pocket, always tip your bartender in front. It's a wise investment that'll pay dividends down the road. That's if you ever want to get served again or get a good pour. So don't go cheap. Even if you're broke, take care of the people that take care of you, because someday, when you really need that drink and your hand is shaking, that glass will be filled with a wink and a nod, no questions asked. Now Sheila, she's my girl. Well, she's not really my girl, but in my mind I pretend she is. When I'm at the bar and she's behind the log, man, she is a real looker. Classy, smart too. Oh, funny? She can tell a joke. All the guys come to her bar. I swear, when she walks back and forth, it looks like it could be a tennis match, with all the heads following her from one side of the bar to the other. She doesn't seem to mind. Maybe she actually is oblivious to it, but I suspect she is aware that every eye in the house is focused on her every move. Now heck, maybe she doesn't even know anybody's staring at her, including me, but the way she bends over that cooler, I think she knows exactly what she's doing and loves every minute of it. The girl banks every night. Thursday night, and the jukebox swears out every possible musical obscenity available in the bowels of its hoarse calliope of sounds. The night is young, the regulars shuffle in. Thursday night is always good, as it's the prelude to the usual weekend insanity, and a lot of industry people come out to party. Bartenders, waitresses, hookers, off-duty cops, hell, even hustlers. Yeah, Thursday night just might be all right. The night is young, and I've got a warm glow in my belly already. Bring it on. Friday night is just around the corner. Billy Snow, Part 2. Oh man, I hate being broke. Friday, and the wisps of last night's memory hang in the balcony of my mind. I wake to the sound of a jackhammer in the distance, sirens, and the clanging of pots and pans, dishes, and voices I can't recognize in a language I don't speak, coming from next door. It's the Lithuanian couple in the room to the south of me getting thrown out for not paying their rent. I live on a third-floor walk-up, a room by the week. It's like a hotel, but it's more like a rooming house filled with a mixed bag of old men, couples on the dole, artists, musicians, and out-of-work bartenders. That would be me. Kate's the owner of the building, and we pay our rent every Sunday downstairs at the bar. If you don't have your rent on Sunday, you can be sure there'll be a padlock on your door Monday night. Kate. She's a good enough soul. Gave me a break when I was tossed out of my last place and let me stay in a tiny room under the stairs in the first floor of the stairway. I had nowhere to go, but she let me stay there. I had to wait till something opened up, but I finally made it into a real room upstairs. At least I had a part-time gig then. Now things are drying up. I better get on the stick soon, or I'll be out on the street with the Lithuanian couple next door. It's an old building on the corner of Division and Wood, built in the late 1800s. It's seen better days. The wind whistles through the cracks in the wooden window frames, and the floor is warped and dried from years of soapy water and untold coats of paint, peeling, chipping, fading away. It's warm in the winter from the steam that comes hissing out of the old iron radiators, but she turns off the hot water at 8 until 8 a.m., so you better get your shower in before, unless you like shaving with cold water. There's a common room in the middle of the floor with a couch and a table, and a few scattered and broken chairs, a sink, a big barrel for trash in the center of the room. Mostly people stay in their rooms, but you can count on a noisy card game or two to keep you up until daybreak on weekends. Feet, maybe 10 feet long. Funny, the ceiling is about 10 feet high, as well as the windows. I have a hot plate for cooking, and keep an ice chest at the foot of my bed. But we're not supposed to cook in our rooms, so I break out the liaison gastronomique late night. There are rats in the downstairs floors, but they rarely venture up into the third floor. When they do, I can hear them rustling in the barrel in the common room, searching for scraps. My room has 4 bare walls, a bed, a bookshelf, a closet, and a window that faces east. Across the street, I have a view of another old building, also built in the 1800s, and in need of repairs. Its only saving grace is that it houses a joint called the Gold Star Bar, a little dive I've frequented on occasion, good for a shot and a beer. The best way to revive one's body after a late-night bout with the bottle is an afternoon visit to the Russian-Turkish bathhouse up the block. Many a late-night foray has put me in a state where the only way back to life was a trip to the banya. Although primarily Russian, Armenian, Croatian, and Turkish patrons frequent this establishment, they begrudgingly allow me entry for a small fee that includes a fresh white towel and an extra towel for an extra $1. The air is thick and heavy, wet. There's also a small room where you can order tea and sausages, bread and cheese. Although there's a tradition of using the venik, a small collection of branches and twigs that one swats one's body with, I tried it clumsily one time and thought it too odd to try again. It's not for me. I don't know anybody there. Nobody speaks much English, but my money's good, so they leave the sole American alone. Refreshed and ready for the world, I return to my Spartan domicile to prepare for the dawning of the eve. I take a chance and steam a combination of rice with peppers and sausage from the neighborhood Mexican grocery store, a mom-and-pop convenience store that also sells fresh meats and liquor, mostly beer and wine, but you can get a half pint or a pint from behind the counter depending on how much money you have. Of late, I've only been able to partake of the occasional half pint, but they're too expensive. Sometimes almost as much as a fifth at a reasonable discount store like the King's Palace. So, a shower and a shave, and a simple meal to fortify against the evening's onslaught of hard liquor, and it was time to dress for another night on the town. The challenges of looking presentable while financially at a deficit have traditionally proved overwhelming for most poor folk. I, however, have always been up for the game, and by seeking out discount and second-hand shops, I have been able to circumvent the usual pitfalls of an empty wallet and come out the other side looking somewhat presentable, even looking prosperous to some. A Kuppenheimer suit from a used clothing store on Clark Street was one of my prized possessions, and with the addition of a silver cigarette case and Zippo lighter, freshly shined shoes, silk tie, and slicked back hair, I was ready to hit the street. The idea was to find a job, but the reality of securing employment on a Friday night, when nightclubs fill up to the max with teeming throngs of people looking to blow off steam after a long work week, proved to be unrealistic. Trying to connect with a manager, nightclub, or restaurant owner on weekend nights soon proved to be a fool's game, and my focus turns toward finding a good place for a cheap drink. To be continued. Billy Snow, Part 2. When in search of new employment opportunities in the nightlife business, one often ends up following the crowd. And tonight, the crowd will be on Clark Street. A good place for a cheap drink and an eyeful. The night was young, and the usual crowd shuffled in. A mixed bag of locals, sailors, servicemen, college students, and conventioneers comprised the assembled group of customers. My perch at the long bar at the Liberty Inn is near the door so I can see who's coming in and never lose sight of Sheila. A staged entrance is important as it sets the tone for the entire evening, and my entrance was subtle, yet dramatic, enough to turn a few heads, being the mysterious stranger entering the bar. Full of myself and confident that my bravado was enough of a calling card to generate interest down the bar. Who knows what the evening will have in store, but as my first bourbon goes down, the warm glow starts in my belly, and a feeling of contentment rises in my head. I hear a piano and a saxophone start to play a slow, grinding ballad in the next room. Making my way down the bar, past the tables of men in the highest fashion, custom-made suits and diamond stick pins, being pawed by thick mascara and powdered ladies with whore-red lipstick, which seemed quite appropriate since that's what they were. Conventioneers welcome. That's what the sign outside said, and every joint on Clark Street echoed the welcome. Chicago made a reputation for hosting conventions, and when conventioneers came to Chicago, they expected a certain level of bawdiness, a good time to be shown to all. McGovern's Liberty Inn did not disappoint in the areas of bawdiness, nor a good time. The main draw, of course, was the largest review of dancing girls in town. Maybe not the most beautiful, but certainly a potpourri to choose from for any taste. On my way to the back room, which I guess would be generally known as the showroom, well, at least that's where the stage was. The area one would call the stage at the Liberty Inn was actually an extended dance floor, with a band in back on a small riser, and sometimes even hidden by a red velvet curtain. The usual lineup was piano, bass, drums, with an ever-changing menagerie of horn players and the occasional vocalist. A huge single spotlight shone in a bright oval shape over the dance floor, mostly ignoring the band in the back and focusing on the dancer. Scattered tables surrounded the stage, and the floor show was up close and personal. At the Liberty Inn, not everyone came for the burlesque entertainment. Indeed, many people came to hear the jazz, and the dancers were secondary entertainment to many patrons, including myself. The highlight of the entertainment at the Liberty Inn, besides Sheila, was the after-hours jam sessions. The MC hawked the entertainers and made sure it was known the dancers were available to visit you at your table for the price of a drink. The drinks for the dancers were watered-down tea, and the girls got paid by the swizzle stick, which the house would later redeem for cash. Some people call them B-girls. Maybe it's short for bar girls. Maybe it's because they weren't on the A-list. But either way, I see it, they're just trying to make a living. There are people who have gone missing on this street, so many that it has garnered the name, the Street of Missing Persons. A lot of the joints are outfit places and are protected by the police. The 18th District Station, just a few blocks away, just around the corner. There's always been kind of a symbiotic relationship between the outfit, mob, mafia, whatever you want to call it, and the police. The cops are so intertwined with the bad guys that sometimes the dividing lines get confused. People do favors. Money gets exchanged. Next thing you know, everybody's friends and no one knows the good guys from the bad guys, except for the uniform. At least in Chicago. Things get wild on Clark Street. People have a good time. Sometimes they have a real good time. Maybe they flash a few too many bills around and get invited to a party. Maybe it's a party they shouldn't have gone to. Up the stairs and in the hotel next to the Liberty Inn. There's always a party on Clark Street. Anytime, day or night. Whatever you need can be made available. From booze to girls, reefer, yellow jackets, goofballs, benzodrine, heroin, opium, you name it. And if you got the do-re-mi, brother, you got whatever you want. Just be careful. Money can buy you a lot of things. Sometimes it can buy you trouble. Just ask Orja Corns, if you can find him. Some say Corns found the wrong party and ended up in a trunk. One day Corns was walking down Clark Street, and then he just disappeared. Just like that fella from the Trade Winds on Rush Street. Just disappeared. So if you're ready to continue the party, just have your wits about you. And don't flash your wad. Just yet. Misty's done with her famous number. It brings down the house as usual. She comes out dressed as an Arabic dancing girl and does a bit of a belly dance. She has these birds, parrots. She trained them to take off her clothes. They fly out and take off one piece at a time to the tune of Stranger in Paradise. As she feeds them small bits of bread and croutons hidden in her costume. Misty has another act, the snake charmer act, but it's pretty much the same as the bird act. But the snake doesn't take off her clothes. I guess you're supposed to pretend the snake is, well, you get the picture. She's pretty good, though. And she's a feature. A feature is a girl that does a special show. A feature entertainer is not a house girl. That's a girl that just dances and hustles guys for drinks. Feature girls get special dressing room, get their picture out front in a glass case on the wall or up on the marquee. They get a billing that advertises what the entertainment that's featured in the club is. Feature girls usually get special attention, are off limits, and most always end up, or already are, girlfriends with the owner, manager, or the house booking agent. And that's just the way it is. Sometimes the girls that become feature acts get picked by the agent to go to other clubs like the Follies or the Chez Paree. Or sometimes they end up in a penthouse apartment, the special pet of Jimmy A. Or maybe they're just picked to be on the club's matchbooks cover. Some girls just drift from club to club, getting in trouble, fired, hired back the next week, or just move on to another club to be another B-girl dancer, or both. One more bit of entertainment worthy of mention, something that keeps the lonely men coming back and gets another hand in their pocket, is a game called 26. It's a dice game, almost always hosted by a pretty girl. It features a set of dice, and the customer usually buys in for chips or tokens that are redeemable for drinks at the bar. Sometimes the 26 game is an entree to scope out high rollers or gamblers that might be interested in a more serious game like poker or roulette, played in a private, often secret room for high stakes. Since gambling is illegal in Chicago, there's a certain vetting process that takes place to weed out any potential law enforcement agents sent into undercover to seek out illegal games. It's a cat and mouse game that's gone on in Chicago since the days of Hinky Dink McKenna back in the 1800s. Often the house gets tipped off by someone special in the department, someone on the payroll, before a raid, sometimes not. Tonight was one of those nights where the cards get dealt and the wheel spins on and on and on into the late night. Late night, and that's when I hit my stride. Usually things start coming together for me between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. So I'm back at the bar and I saddle up to my regular perch. Next to me is a short guy with a sharkskin suit, slick back hair, and a diamond pinky ring. I can tell he's giving me the fisheye and sizing me up. I turn and glance in his direction, and he meets my gaze with a stone-cold stare. I've seen that look before. It's the kind of look guys who have done time get. It's their cold prison chill that gives this guy off. I suspect he hasn't been out for too long. He's nervous. Smokes cigarette after cigarette. English ovals. And he drinks Foxhead 400 beer, a beer notoriously served in outfit joints. I get it right away. This guy does not like me. I call Sheila. Sheila, honey, go on over here and pour me a bourbon. Neat. And get my friend here whatever he's drinking. I'm not drinking, he said. I'm not drinking. And whatever you're selling, I'm not buying. Never taking his eye off me or raising his voice. Suit yourself, friend, I said. I'm not your friend. And what are you doing talking to Sheila? I feigned ignorance and raised my hand and shrugged, looking the other way. I started to mumble a half-baked answer and reached for my Zippo in case I needed it in my hand if the guy swung at me. I had no idea who this fellow was, but I got the message there was going to be trouble if I didn't shift gears fast. Ideas raced through my head amid a wave of emotion and a rush of adrenaline. Who is this guy? Could it really be her boyfriend, or is he just bluffing? Either way, he probably knows more people around here than I do. Heck, he may even have a piece of the joint, who knows? Now, I've been a customer here at McGovern's Liberty Inn for long enough to know the owners, Johnny and Vera. But you never know in this business. Things can change fast. I've seen joints get muscled in on by the outfit and in just weeks force the owner out of a place he worked years to build. It could be anything. You know, maybe he was extended a little line of credit by a distributor and he fell short on a payment or had a bad month. That's when they move in to collect the debt. Or he kept the back room open too late one night and drank a few too many. Next thing, he's making stupid bets. Bets he shouldn't have made. This guy, I'll call him Romeo, has too much confidence in this situation to be just a small-time player. I could be wrong, and I could be right. But I decided to make a quick exit, reached into my pocket, lumped a wad of crumpled up bills on the bar, turned and made my exit without as much as a word to Romeo or Sheila. That was a scenario that had to end now, or things could have gotten much, much worse. I know these kind of guys, and I know I could have ended up a heap in the alley. So, it's out the door, down Clark Street to the next joint. Next stop, King's Palace. To be continued. Billy Snow. Part 3. King's Palace is a real dive. Not the worst in town, pretty far down the scale, even for Clark Street. It's a place where the fellows that load the docks and railroad cars go after or before work for a drink to calm themselves down after a long shift, or one to boost their spirits when the future looks bleak. I mean, what do you got to look forward to if all you ever see in front of you is a pile of bills and a job that pays you just enough to pay the rent and barely feed you? Maybe you got a family to look after. You got to have something to look forward to. And for most people, King's Palace, Friday or Saturday night, is it. A worn-out-looking middle-aged man balding, 50 pounds overweight, and sweating. Joe Kolinsky wipes down the bar as I walk in. His face brightens up a bit when he sees me. "Hey, you Billy," he says. "What do you know? They're still letting Polacks come in here?" I said with a smile. You say you don't like them, but you sure do drink with enough of them. You got something against Polacks, Billy?" He puts down his rag and sticks his face in mine. I stare down. We both break up laughing after about 3 seconds. "Where the hell you been, Billy?" "I've been working at the Continental." "Behind the log?" "Yeah, but I got canned." "Nice place. Surprised they let you walk in the door. What happened?" I made too many drinks." He looked at me and raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, I'd make one for them, make one for me, one for them, one for me." "Oh, well, you gotta learn to pace yourself if you're gonna be behind the log, boy. Better do what I do. Drink from the dummy bottle." "Dummy bottle?" "Yeah, it's a bottle we pour for the drunks when we don't want them drinking no more. It's filled with tea and water. We call it the dummy bottle." "Is that what you've been serving me all this time? No wonder I never get drunk in here." "Oh, no, not you, Billy. Well, once in a while when you fell asleep at the bar, but I gotta remember that one. So what'll it be, Billy?" "Wait, you got money?" "The boss says no more credit in here, so you gotta have cash." "Yeah, I got cash. What cash, Joe?" "Make it an old granddad. Neat." I put my money on the counter, the biggest bill I had. It's always a good idea, so the bartender knows you're not broke, and I always tip something in front. Keeps people friendly, if you know what I mean. Like I said before, you take care of them, they'll take care of you. So, Joe, I didn't hear any balls breaking in here. Still got a pool table? Just wait till my wife shows up. She's a ball buster from way back." "Hold on, I'll get you a set." Joe takes a wooden rack of billiard balls from under the bar, tosses a few cue chalk in between the balls and a triangle on top, slides it down the bar. He reaches up over the bar, and a single white light goes on in the other room over a deep green pool table. One thing about the King's Palace, it may be a shot in a beer joint dive, but they have a great pool table. I love pool. "Joe, you just hold on to that 20 for whatever I need tonight, okay? Drinks, food, whatever," I shouted as I walked towards the table in the other room. "Okay, Billy, you need something to eat? I'll have Margie." Taking a few pool cues in my hand and eyeballing the curves, I said, "It's okay, Joe. I'll let you know." So, pony glass of bourbon, an open tab at the bar, paid for, a level lead pool table, fast, with no lean and no drag. It's looking like a good night after all. "Sheila, Romeo can have her for now. I'll make my own fun here. Hey, maybe I'll even make a few bucks. There's always a few losers that think they're big-time hustlers in here. The night is young, and I've got a wide-open fresh table, fresh pack of Chesterfields, and a stiff one in front of me. Not that kind, but maybe later. You never know what the night will bring. Maybe fantasy, maybe fun, maybe some dough, maybe none. I feel good. I feel loose. Bring it on." A voice from the darkened room says, "What do you shoot?" I spy a pair of large, shiny black wingtip shoes just outside the circle of light from the pool table. I tip the pool table lampshade in the direction of the voice. "I shoot a little slop," I said. A thin black man wearing shades and a beat-up leather bomber jacket sits in the corner, a long, thin cigar hanging from his lips. "Slop? I don't think you shoot slop. Maybe in grade school you shot slop, but not now." Well, maybe the jig was up and he saw through my innocent act. Okay, I'll rack him up, he said. At 6'3", he could hold an entire rack of billiard balls in one hand if he wanted to. Juilliard Spence was a towering, lean, confident mass of quiet elegance and grace. It's your game, mister. Am I to believe that it is your intention to interest me in a game of slop pool? Or are you a mind for something a bit more challenging? He queried. Yeah, slop's fine by me. Really? All right. So what's it gonna be? A quarter a ball? 100 a ball? And when he laughed, it was deep and loud and shook the room with its timbre and bass. Well, $1 a ball suits me just fine. He knew my game and was either just as broke and getting desperate as I was, or just playing along for his own amusement. Racking up the balls, he whistled a melody in a slow, disjointed string of notes, filled the room with an otherworldly vibe, and backdrop to the evening's unfolding. Juilliard, gesturing to the table with a wave of his hand. Your break, sir. I hold the glass up to my nose and let the spirits fill my mouth. A slow burn and a bit of a taste and a bit of a bite. Smoky and mellow. The bourbon fills my chest and shoots my head with a heat that circles my body and puts me smack dab in the zone. That's where you want to be, in the zone. Me. So, what's in front of me? A set of infinite mathematical possibilities manifest in a triangle composed of 15 spheres. Where they go is up to me or Providence, but I trust me more. A white cone of hand talc sits on the oak shrine on the wall. Hand talc keeps your hands cool during the game and eliminates drag on the cue when you shoot a 3/4-inch square blue cue chalk. 5 sides, covered in paper, sits on the rail. On the side of the table, I take the end of the cue and caress the tip with the blue cube. The cue ball is waiting in the kitchen, behind the white pearly inlay diamonds embedded in the rail on the other side of the table from the triangle of balls, my intended. My aim true, and posture at an angle appropriate to the task at hand. With a steady hand, the cue slides across the bridge of my hand with lightning speed and power. The thunder crack of billiard balls fills the tavern, from the cracked cement floor to the silver tin ceiling tiles, 30 feet in the air. The balls shoot everywhere and bounce from side to side, each ball eventually slowing to a resting place of its own. Juilliard Spence steps slowly from the shadows and bites down on the long, thin cigar and takes aim. His quiet confidence is impressive as he takes his first aim. Again, the crack of the break, but this time with the sound of balls actually sliding into the pockets, and along with the shoot to the bottom of the table, 2, 3, 4, 5 balls off the table in the first break for Mr. Spence. He continues and clears the table in about 2 minutes. I'm astounded and stare with bewilderment at the bare green felt of the pool table that just minutes before showed such promise. I reached into my pocket and realized that my money was behind the bar. Mr. Spence, will you accompany me to the bar? As we walked, my mind was reeling with the blur of events that had just unfolded, and I was beyond embarrassed that I lost so miserably, but also that I would have to hand most of my money over to this man in front of a bar full of people, and Joe the bartender. Joe, you can cash me out, I said. Joe rang me up on the register and put my change in front of me. I tossed a few bills Joe's way, handed $15 to Juilliard Spence. Mr. Juilliard, would you like a drink, sir? He counted the money again, took out a rubber band from his pocket, wrapped it around the bills. No, Bill. Thank you very much, but I think I got enough from you for one evening. I looked at the floor, embarrassed, certain that every eye in the bar was looking my way. Without looking up, I said, "You have a good night, Juliet Spence," and headed towards the door. The jukebox was silent, and all I could hear was a quiet murmur across the bar, the clinking of glasses, the slow, high whistle of Harlem Nocturne in the distance. I got $7 in my pocket, enough for a bottle of cheap whiskey and a bus fare home. The night had turned to chill. As the famous Chicago cold wind kicked in after sunset, I turned up my collar, buttoned my coat, braced for the wind to the corner of Clark and Division, where I picked up a pint of bourbon and a bag of peanuts. I finished half the bottle of whiskey in the back of the bus on the way home, stumbled up the stairs, and into bed. Saturday morning came much too fast. Seems like I laid my head down 5 minutes ago, but the jackhammer and the traffic in the street tell me different. One thing about Kate's rooms is she doesn't believe in frills. If you want curtains, you supply them. Same with sheets, blankets, and towels. Most of the people in the building had an old sheet or a blanket over the window, held up by a few rusty old nails, but like I said before, at least she gives you a dresser and a bed. I checked my wind-up Timex alarm clock. 7 a.m. Damn, no hot water for another hour. I reach under the bed for the brown paper bag with one eye open. I gauge the contents of the bottle, then turn it sideways so it looks like there's more. I always do that. Funny quirk. Hair of the dog. Bottoms up. As I shut my eye, a radio blasts from a few doors down. Jack Eigen, brought to you by Chesterfield Kings. Live from the Chez Paree in Chicago. Oh, man, it's too early for this. No more booze. Jackhammer in the street. And now Jack Eigen's breakfast show. Can it get any worse?
Billy, it's Kate. I need the rent. Tomorrow's Sunday, and I let you slide for 1 week. If you don't have it, I'll have to lock you out on Sunday night.
I open the door, crack. Kate's giving me the what's up look. Kate, I'll have it, I said. I felt the world crushing in on me. The jackhammer, sirens, car horns, radio, and the knocking still ringing in my ears. I went to the bathroom down the hall and ran into Jimmy Smits coming out. Hey, Jimmy, how'd that horse play out for you? Jimmy was drunk as usual. He looked at the ceiling and said, "Hey, man, that horse paid out. Thanks." Reached into his pocket, slapped a couple of bills in my hand, and stumbled down the hall. I put the bills in my pocket without looking. Went to the bathroom and rolled up a wad of toilet paper, tore it in half, stuck each one in an ear, then turned around and turned off the light, shut the door, headed back to my room. Reached into my pocket, pulled out the bills. Jimmy gave me, I figured it would be like $2 or $3. Damn if Jimmy didn't give me $60. Maybe he didn't mean to. But then again, maybe my tip really paid off for him. Either way, he's not getting it back. So, with the $7 I had, and now 60, I got $67. Enough to stake me in a game, or maybe win back my pool money from last night's game at the King's Palace. I pulled the blanket back up over the window. No sound, no light, just a hum, and the thumping of my heart. As I slip into bed, Sigh of relief, and the weight of the world just got a little bit lighter, and my breaths became long and deep. I focus on letting go and welcome sleep. For tonight, the world is mine. I slept all morning and into the late afternoon with the sun setting. It's my favorite time to wake up. The nighttime is when I come alive, and tonight, I need to get that job. I've been scuffling around from job to job for a few years now, taking whatever came along. Sometimes a good job at a fancy joint, sometimes a shot in a beer place. I'm a real good bartender, and I know it. Always quick with a light, good joke, even a tip on a horse. Keep a clean bar, polished glasses, shiny ashtrays with the matches of the house folded and tips up. When I'm on, I am on. And tonight, I just think I might have it. Jack Eigen's still on my mind from the nightmare this morning. Hey, why not? The Chez Paree. Who says I can't work at a place like that? I don't know. Maybe it's a little too classy for a guy like me. Well, there's only one thing you need to do when you have nothing to lose, and that's try one more time. One thing you don't take is the bus to a place like the Chez Paree. I feel nervous. A book of matches clenched in my hand with the name of the head bartender written on the inside cover. I've had those matches floating around in my collection of matches from different bars for months. Never had the guts to call or look him up. Arturo was a short, elegant-looking man with slick back hair and a pencil-thin mustache. His red waist-length tuxedo barman's jacket and a bow tie. It's early, 5 p.m., before the Saturday night dinner crowd, and there's no happy hour on weekends, so my chances are better to set up the bait for a job or even have him put a good word in for me with the boss. Good luck. Arturo's behind the bar, icing wines and getting ready for the evening's dinner show. Leading with my best smile, I greet Arturo and remind him where we met, after hours at Riccardo's. Thank God he remembered me. And he seemed impressed. I go for it. Arturo, I've always seen myself working at the Chez Paree. You know why? Because I consider myself a perfectionist. Anticipation of a customer's needs and attention to detail are my hallmarks as a professional. I hear these are traits that are highly regarded at the Chez Paree. Arturo looked at me for a minute. He looked straight in my eyes, only blinking once in the end. Excuse me, Billy. I'll be right back. He was gone for about 5 minutes and returned with a distinguished-looking gentleman with dark wavy hair, custom Italian suit, and a no-nonsense look. Billy, this is Mr. Meadowvine. He'd like to talk with you for a moment. I knew who this man was, by reputation only. It was Donjo Meadowvine, one of the owners of the Chez Paree. Billy, please have a seat. Would you care for a cocktail? I knew that was a trick question, and if I said yes to anything but water and soda, I would never get the job. I could feel the sweat start to build at the top of my forehead. Why is it so damn hot in here? Why don't they have air conditioning? Arturo has good things to say about you. Why would you want to work at the Chez Paree? Well, Mr. Meadowvine, all my life wanted to be in the nightclub and restaurant business. I started as a busboy, and I worked my way behind the bar. I scrubbed floors, washed dishes, learned every drink there is and what goes in them. I've been fortunate enough to work at some pretty good places. I'm always ready to learn, and I'm here because the Chez Paree is considered to be the #1 nightclub in the country. I believe I belong here, and that's why I walked in the door. What would you suggest as a wine for an after-dinner, say, flambé dessert like Cherry's Jubilee? Oh, I'd suggest Sauterne, Liefermilk, Riesling, but of course champagne goes with everything. Mr. Meadowvine pulled out a cigar, sat back looking at me. I had my ladder out before his back was to the chair. He raised his hand and waved me back, shaking his head. No, 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 as if it wasn't necessary. He looked at Arturo behind the bar. Billy, what would they say about you if I called the Continental and asked them? Well, they'd say I was a pretty good worker and a great bartender. I lied. What would you say if I told you I already called them? I'd say they were telling the truth. I was on pins and needles. Did he call the Continental? Did they tell him I got caught drinking on the job? Billy, I'm not going to call the Continental. For whatever reason you no longer work there, I know it won't happen here. I know it won't happen here for the same reason you know it won't happen here. Because we are the best. And we expect the best from our people. Everybody that works here operates on a higher level, with pride, and when they go home every night with a pocket full of money, they're happy. We have very little turnover here, Billy. I have people that have worked for me for over 20 years. But not the dancers. He winked, smiled, and laughed. So, would you like to be a bartender at the Chez Paree, Billy? Oh, yes, sir.
Johnny,
See that Mr. Snow has it fitting before he leaves this evening, and his uniform should be ready when he shows up for work on Monday.
yes, sir, Mr. Middlevine.
And Billy, black and whites, spit-shine shoes. You work at the Chez Paree now. Welcome aboard. The end.